Hello, everyone. I must say I am very nervous, so please, well, thank you, Ambassador Waltz, for this invitation. It is an honor to stand on this stage with you and the other distinguished speakers here today to shine a spotlight on the deadly threat faced by thousands of Christians in Nigeria. I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage in calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief. I stand here as a proud New Yorker with a deep sense of gratitude that we live in a country where we can freely and safely worship God regardless of one's creed, background, or politics. No group should ever be persecuted for practicing their religion, like I recently stated on social media. And we don't have to share the same beliefs in order for us to respect each other. We're way beyond thinking or expecting or assuming for, the person sitting next to you to have the exact same beliefs. We're beyond that. That's ridiculous. But that shouldn't make one person feel less safe than anyone in any room. Music has taken me around the globe. I have seen how people, no matter their language, culture, or religion, come alive when they hear a song that touches their soul. Religious freedom means we all can sing our faith regardless of who we are, where we live, and what we believe. But today, faith is under attack in way too many places. In Nigeria, Christians are being targeted, driven from their homes, and killed. Churches have been burned. Families have been torn apart. And entire communities live in fear constantly, simply because of how they pray. Sadly, this problem is not only a growing problem in Nigeria, but also in so many other countries across the world, and it demands urgent action. And I want to be clear. Protecting Christians in Nigeria is not about taking sides or dividing people. It is about uniting humanity. Nigeria is a beautiful nation with deep faith traditions and lots of beautiful barbs that I can't wait to see. When one's church, mosque, or place of worship is destroyed, everyone's heart should break just a little bit. And the foundation of the United Nations, with its core mandate to ensure peace and security, should shake. I am joined here today by peace builders, by faith leaders, by those who saw violence, saw rising intolerance, saw the threats clearly before us, and chose not to look the other way. I am inspired by their work to build interfaith ties, to see the humanity across the lines which might divide us, and to fight for security and liberty for all those who pray. I look forward to our discussion today, and I hope it will encourage deepened solidarity for us to urgently work together to ensure every person can enjoy the right to believe, to worship, and to live in peace. Barbs, I know you're somewhere listening. I love you so very much. You have been the ultimate light in my life and career for so long. I appreciate you, and I want to make it very clear once again that this isn't about taking sides. This is about standing up in the face of injustice. It's about what I've always stood for my entire career, and I will continue to stand for that. For the rest of my life, I will care if anyone, anywhere, is being persecuted for their beliefs. Thank you.
This morning, we dive into a story that sits at the intersection of diplomacy, celebrity influence, global politics, religion, and security. A United Nations event hosted by none other than US rapper Nicki Minaj sparks outrage in Nigeria. Why? Because Nigeria, the country at the very center of the allegations discussed, wasn't even invited. And according to Nigerian officials, it was like shaving our head in our absence. Strap in. This is deep, complex, full of contradictions, politics, and pressure. My name remains Oluwayomi Timlola, and you're listening to Newsroom Nigeria. Before we get into the full breakdown, please hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and if you're watching this live, drop a present in the chat. So here is the headline. Nigeria has raised serious concerns after being locked from a United Nations event hosted by Nicki Minaj. Yes, the globally acclaimed rapper. The event wasn't entertainment, it wasn't a concert. It was a high-level discussion about the alleged killing and persecution of Christians in Nigeria, something the US government has been vocal about. More specifically, from the now president, Donald Trump, recently designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern over what he calls Christian genocide. But Nigeria, the country being accused, wasn't allowed into the room. And so the Nigerian representative at the UN, Endoni, had something to say about this, and they weren't soft. He compared the decision to shaving someone's head in their absence. In diplomatic language, that's almost the equivalent of you're making decisions about us without us, and that's unacceptable. Endoni says, and I quote, "It is important to ensure the country concerned is present, aware, and has a voice in the matter." And honestly, he has a point. Diplomacy, fairness, natural justice, all these things rely on hearing from the accused. But the US had its own explanation. According to Patricia Ahone, the US senior advisor for African affairs, Nigeria was not invited for one reason. Participants specifically requested that no Nigerian officials be present. They feared potential retribution against them or their families. Now, this is where things get complicated, because this isn't just diplomacy anymore. It's about fear, security, and perception. Ahone even told the Nigerian envoy that the event was private, but held at United Nations headquarters, hosted with the US mission, featuring global religious activists. So, it's private, but not really private. This raises questions. Now, let's talk about Nicki Minaj for a moment. Some people are asking, why is the rapper hosting a UN event about religious persecution? And it's a fair question, but let's be honest. Celebrities have been entering the humanitarian and political space more and more. Angelina Jolie, Forrest Whitaker, Beyonce, you name it. Nicki Minaj has a massive platform, especially among young people. The organizers likely saw this as a way to amplify the issue globally. But the optics here, a bit strange, a bit confusing, and definitely controversial. Some Nigerians feel insulted. So a foreign celebrity can host an event about Nigeria, but Nigeria itself isn't allowed inside. The US, especially under Trump's recent designation, insists Nigeria is facing targeted killings of Christians. Nigeria, on the other hand, has repeatedly rejected the term genocide. Nigerian authorities say security challenges are real. Criminals, banned extremists, and separatists are killing people, but the violence affects all groups, not just Christians. So, who is right? Well, here is where the data gets tricky because Nigeria does have disturbing cases of attacks on Christian communities, but it also has attacks on Muslims, attacks on farmers, attacks on herders, attacks on security personnel. It's a large, complex security crisis, not a one sided campaign. But the US narrative leans heavily towards religious persecution, which makes Nigeria feel misrepresented. Now, let's pause a bit and lay out the contrasting viewpoints clearly. Nigeria's position is Nigeria says it is fighting extremism. The government rejects the term genocide. Excluding Nigeria from the UN event is unfair and undiplomatic. Decisions about Nigeria shouldn't be made behind closed doors. The fear of retribution excuse sounds suspicious and insulting. The government believes the US approach escalates tension unnecessarily. And then on the other hand, we have the US and participants' position. They feel Christians are being attacked in parts of Nigeria. Some speakers fear backlash if the Nigerian government is present. The event was designed to give victims a safe space to speak. US officials believe public pressure is needed to push Nigeria into action. They claim Nigeria underplays the severity of religious-based violence. So yes, both sides have valid concerns. Both sides also have blind spots. This isn't just about an event. This is about the evolving relationship between Nigeria and the US. The US has accused Nigeria of human rights failures. Nigeria has accused the US of naming and shaming. There is mistrust, there is suspicion, and now there is Nicki Minaj unintentionally in the middle of a geopolitical fire. Well, at least Nigerian Twitter had fun with that part. If you ask me, or most analysts, the number one mistake was excluding Nigeria because you cannot hold a global discussion about a country's alleged religious genocide without the country's input. That's simply not how credible international policy works. On the other hand, if victims genuinely feared retaliation, then their safety is a legitimate concern. So the real failure here might be on both sides. The US should have found a safer way to include Nigeria. Nigeria should improve its human rights image to reduce fear and mistrust. Diplomacy requires transparency. This event lacked it. This incident raises bigger questions. Is the US using religious persecution as geopolitical leverage? Or is Nigeria failing to properly communicate its security efforts? Are celebrities starting to influence international narratives? And importantly, does this escalation help victims or worsen the divides? These are questions policymakers must address. The Nigerian envoy says the government will continue to engage with the US to address extremist violence, protect lives and property, improve diplomatic communication. But at the end of the day, collaboration, not exclusion, is what reduces violence, and both sides need to calm the rhetoric. This story is a perfect example of how global politics, religion, celebrity culture, and national security can collide in the most unexpected ways. If you found this analysis insightful, please hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell, drop your comment below. Tell me, what do you think? Should Nigeria have been included? Was the US justified? Or was this whole thing unnecessarily provocative? Your voice matters. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye for now.